Hey, Undisputed listeners. Before we start the show, I wanted to tell you about our brand new Fox Sports app and website, foxsports.com. Reimagined for the modern sports fan. Go ahead, download the new app right now. You don't even have to pause this episode. Every day on the new app and website, you'll see the top stories in sports, plus a rich world of written content, videos, social media, and analytics to give you a 360-degree view of the most important stories of the day. Streaming live TV has never been so easy or elegant. Every Fox Sports game, including all pregame and postgame shows, are just one click away. For the extra invested fan, we also go deep with real-time wagering lines, trending prop bets, win probability, and key player projections. Download the new Fox Sports app or visit www.foxsports.com now. Let's start the show. Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
We got a lot to talk about.
Say good night, LeBron. Now the NBA is nothing but nets.
No.
Can you believe it?
Net.
Net?
Yeah, no.
You're trying to do Russian? You're trying to speak Russian?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, all right. Oh, what a day, guys. Should we just get right to it?
Yeah.
It was a blockbuster trade yesterday. James Harden got his wish and is being traded to the Nets in a 4-team deal involving the Pacers and the Cavs. Karis LeVert ended up in Indianapolis, and Victor Oladipo is now in Houston as part of the deal that also included several first-round picks going to the Rockets as well. Harden's pairing with Durant and Kyrie has now made the Nets the Eastern Conference favorites, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook, but are still behind the Lakers as favorites to win it all. So, Shannon, should they be the favorites or will they be failures?
Hold on, wait. Jenny, I need you to read that one more time.
Which part? Should
Brooklyn
they
Nets
be
became
the favorites or will they be failures?
Hold on. If I'm not mistaken, Jenny said Eastern Conference. Is there also a Western Conference?
There is.
Is there an overall favorite? So the Vegas odds makers, Fox Bets, Caesars Palace, William Hall, where are they ranked, Skip?
I don't care. Is that my turn? You want me to go?
It's not your turn. It's not your turn. No, Skip, they should not be the favorite. I don't see this working. The Lakers are still the favorite. I get it. You have three who at any given moment can go off, combust, and explode for 20 points in a quarter, 25 points in a quarter. All these guys can go get your buckets. But, Skip, I just don't see how it works without Kyrie and James Harden stepping on each other's toes. The reason why KD worked so well in Golden State, Skip, all of those guys were perpetual motion. 3 of those guys are great catch-and-shoot guys.
Yep.
Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and KD. KD doesn't need the ball. KD is extremely efficient. When we talk about, I don't really look at James Harden as being efficient. Now, he can, but he also can go and miss 15, 16 threes. I don't see it working, Skip. I just don't see it working. And what they did, what they gave up in order to get him, and I get why you had to do it, and I get why Houston had to do it, because you had Boogie Cousins coming out, Skip. Boogie was the only one that was man enough to say what the entire locker room was feeling. Boogie said the disrespect didn't start last night. It started earlier this year when he showed up late, how he looked once he did show up, and once we got on the court, his behavior. So that's when the disrespect started. Y'all talking about last night or maybe what he said or maybe some of his actions, but it started long before that. So you knew it was just a matter of time before they had to ship him, and they got a king's ransom for him. Skip, if I'm going to get 4 first-rounders and 4 pick swaps, you had no choice. But when I look at what they gave up Taurean Prince, who was a starter, tremendous wing defender. Jared Allen, one of the premier guys. You might say he probably the second or third best rim protector, on-ball defender for a big. He and Rudy Gobert and AD. So, Skip, what they gave up in order to get them, I wouldn't have done it. I would have done it. But you had no choice to do it because basically I think a lot more of that had to do with what's going on with Kyrie. Skip, is he coming back? Is he not? They don't believe, and I don't believe KD can take this Brooklyn team as it was currently constructed, minus KD, get to the win the East, and then win the whole shebang. So this was kind of an insurance plan. It's a very expensive insurance plan, basically 3 years at $133 million. But Skip, I don't see it working because 2 of the 3 guys need the ball for them to showcase what they do really well. Kyrie and James Harden needs the ball, and I just don't see it working.
I am having so much fun with this. I had such a good night with this because I got to check Twitter out and see all of the LeBron apologists and defenders and lovers. I call them the blind witnesses, trying to come up with why this won't work because they're all scared to death, starting with the leader of the group who is sitting across from me.
Okay, have we ever seen anything like this before?
No, we have not.
Exactly.
We have never seen anything like this before, which is why I believe that by outbidding the Philadelphia 76ers for James Harden, the unbelievable Brooklyn Nets, I never even thought I'd see a team in Brooklyn, but the Brooklyn Nets are going to win a championship this year or next year or maybe both. Both.
No. This year, are they going to win the title this year?
Well, what about the next 2 years? The window is open for 2 years.
So
that's what I believe.
So why not wait until next year to get James Harden?
Well, you threw it together on the fly with maybe a fourth of the season gone. It seems like it's going to be.
Man, no fourth of those seasons, Skip. It's on 11 games.
Well,
You ought to be
we'll
ashamed.
see. Well, it's hard to throw a team together, as we saw with the Clippers last year, and figure it out and pull it off on the fly.
Together.
Did you see LeBron's first year in L.A.? Yikes.
Did he have a superstar?
Okay. I am here to tell you right here, right now, your man LeBron James is in powerful trouble. I do not think he will ever win another championship unless they can close this deal this year. And their biggest problem might be right under their nose in the basement because the Clippers are coming for the Lakers. I don't believe the Lakers can get out of the West. And if they do, I'm pretty sure they're going to have to face an all-time juggernaut of scorers coming out of the East, the Brooklyn Nets. I still love the Sixers. I'm happy for the Sixers that they were able to keep Ben Simmons. I believe, and it was reported, that they offered Ben Simmons to Houston, but it feels like, because of all the picks you just mentioned, that Brooklyn just said, we pull out every stop. We are going for the throat. We are going for broke. We are going for star power. What did I learn? My first year I ever covered professional basketball, I was out here at the LA Times back in the middle 1970s, and I covered Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's Los Angeles Lakers without Magic, pre-Magic. What did I learn from everybody in that franchise and everybody I began to deal with around the league? You win in the NBA with stars. You have to have 2 stars. The Lakers needed to get Magic to go with Kareem, and then ultimately Worthy to go with Kareem and Magic to turn into Showtime and a dynasty. If you want underdogs, if you want cute little cuddly Cinderella stories, if you want shocking upsets, watch March Madness. But if you want to win championships in the National Basketball Association, you win with stars. Never has there been more star power, scoring star power, pulled together on the fly than this group right here, right now. Kevin Durant is still the best player on the planet. And I remind you, Kevin Durant the other night had a career-high 13 assists. So don't tell me he can't share the ball.
Skip, when did I say Kevin Durant?
It all starts and finishes with Kevin Durant, because let me explain something. Kevin Durant is obviously best friends with Kyrie Irving, right?
Yeah. Okay.
He is very close friends with James Harden. To your point of how do you manage the egos of Kyrie and James? Well, guess who's going to do that? Guess who the leader of this group? Guess who the alpha will be? Guess who the elder statesman is? Because he's a year older than James, who is about 2.5 years older than Kyrie.
Yeah.
It's Kevin Durant.
How'd that work out for Kyrie? How did it work out with Kyrie and LeBron? Who was the elder statesman? Let me ask you a question.
Did they win a championship? Help me out. I'm foggy. Did Kyrie hit the shot of shots in Game 7 at Oracle to win a championship for LeBron James? Yes, he did.
Can you tell me
I think I'm still talking. I think the floor is mine. I let you go. I'm going. Let me explain. I have not finished my case.
Okay.
I would like to read a quote from Andre Iguodala about Kevin Durant, because I think all those blind witnesses out there need to keep all this in perspective of what just happened in Brooklyn. Here's the quote, if we could see it, from Andre Iguodala. This is on Kevin Durant. People don't appreciate him enough. He's the most talented scorer of all time, hands down. He's a walking 30 points. He'll get 30 on 12 shots. That's very, very hard to do. Very efficient. Most guys need to feel the ball in their hands a lot to get a rhythm. He does not. Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar were the two guys with unstoppable moves. MJ had the fadeaway. Kareem had the skyhook. But KD is a 7-footer who can hit a hezzy pull-up from 50 feet out. That's his unstoppable move. Kaboom!
Okay, let me ask you a
That's
question.
the guy. He doesn't need the ball to feel the ball in his hands. Don't tell me, there's only one basketball.
Skip. I opened up. I said Kevin Durant play with KD, play with Steph and Clay. He doesn't need the ball. Andre Iguodala said that about KD. What the hell did he say about James Harden and Kyrie, who needs the ball?
Okay, is it my turn now? Okay, let's go to the two guard, because James Harden is mostly a two guard. But guess what James Harden did once upon a time? Not that long ago. He led this league in assists. He's averaging 10 assists this year. So don't tell me he's ball dominant.
He's not ball dominant.
He's going to. Do you think he's just a gunner? How do you lead the league in assists if you're a gunner, a no-conscience gunner?
Over the last 7 to 8 years, name the guy that's finished either first or second in usage. So tell me what that means.
Okay, what did happen last year? Help me out. What happened to James Harden's usage last year with Russell Westbrook? For the first time in his life, as he turned 30 years of age, he said, you know what? I'm going to share the basketball with as ball-dominant a player, as headstrong a player as we have in this league, Russell Westbrook.
Right.
What happened to James' usage rate last year? It went from 41% all the way down to 36%. And for those who don't follow that stat, that is a huge drop in
5%.
usage rate, 5%. And he did it because he wanted it to work with Russell Westbrook. And it worked. They won 44 games. They looked pretty good. They beat the stuffing out of the Lakers in game one in the bubble.
Yeah.
And then Daniel House went south and it tore the team apart. Well, it did. They go to the arena for game 2, and all of a sudden it looks like they are in the driver's seat in this series, and Daniel House violates the quarantine.
Yeah.
Way to go.
They do, as a big three, have the most explosive.
Hey, I'm not even beginning to finish here. You got to let me go. Hey, you got to let you talk first. What are you talking about?
It's not about talking first. You can't take 15 minutes. Damn.
Kevin Durant, James Harden is the greatest perimeter scorer this league has ever seen. There's never been anything like him. Do you realize for the last 6 years in a row, he has led this league in free throws attempted and free throws made? Unbelievable, off the charts. Would you believe that last year, James Harden led the league in steals? Are you believing that? He led it in plus-minus, in win shares and plus-minus, because he's so good on defense. Do you realize he was 6th in deflections and he was 3rd in loose balls recovered because he played his tail off on defense last year? So don't give me these guys don't play defense. And speaking of Kevin Durant, he has campaigned 2 or 3 straight years for, I should at least be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year because he can rim protect.
He's never even made
7 feet
He's
tall.
never even made first and second team all defensive.
Okay. Well, speaking of first and second team, there's still this guy on the team named DeAndre Jordan. Everybody said, Jared Allen, he's 22 years old. He can rim protect. Baloney. DeAndre Jordan is only 32 years of age, and it was only 3 and 4 years ago that he made first team all defense.
3 or 4 years
first
ago?
First team all defense.
Skip,
You're in trouble,
Skip,
Shannon.
Hold on.
You're in huge trouble.
Okay, tell the people this. Since you got all the stats over there, tell the people Tuesday night what DeAndre Jordan was.
I don't care.
A healthy stretch.
Oh, stop it. Who cares?
How about this? This is what I care about.
Yeah.
Since you want to put up stats of what Andre Iguodala said, this is, hey, people at home, listen closely. This is what Skip Bayless said yesterday. The Nets are so deep and powerful, I would not break it up for James Harden. Now they get James Harden, you think it's a chance for them to beat LeBron, you hope that Harden.
Well, I didn't know they were going to keep who they got to keep. They kept Spencer Dinwiddie. And
He got ACL surgery.
He is not having surgery. He has a minor tear, and they're saying he might come back later in the year. They kept Spencer Dinwiddie. They kept DeAndre Jordan. Are you kidding me?
Skip Bayless said the Nets are so deep and powerful, I wouldn't break it up for James Harden.
Okay, and guess who they also kept? I thought they would have to give up Joe Harris. There's another guy with initials JH. He's still there in the starting lineup. I thought they would get gutted to get James Harden. What did Joe Harris do once upon a time? Help me out. Oh, he only won the NBA three-point shootout? Are you kidding me? Is there a better catch and shoot three-point guy? I know J.J. Redick's in that conversation. Kyle Korver used to be, but he's still out on the street, and I won't be surprised if they go get Kyle Korver. The other thing that just opened up that I didn't know would open up yesterday, they have 3 roster spots wide open now where they can go into the buyout market or just go out on the street right now. They could go get anybody they want to. Ilyasova back from Europe. I'd like to see him on this team. Eachwan Moore. I mentioned Kyle Korver. There are lots of options where you can get 3 designated defenders on this team if you want. And do you know who Bruce Brown is? Does anybody? You're going to learn who Bruce Brown is. He can flat out play perimeter defense at 6 feet 4 inches tall, and he's been playing 20 minutes a game for this team. And all of a sudden, I'm saying, wait a second. Do you realize they didn't give up TLC? Do you know who TLC is?
I know who he is.
Yeah, well, he was the 24th overall pick in the draft 2 years ago. They didn't give him up. He's still going to probably be a starter for them. TLC is playing 20 minutes a night, and he can defend at 6'7". Don't tell me this team can't defend.
They can't. They're 11th to begin with Taurean Prince and Jared Allen. They were 11th. The Lakers are number 1 in defensive efficiency. So let's go with that. But when you look at big threes and you look at the history of it, guys, there's never been these guys like this that step on each other's foot. When you look at the feet, when you look at Kareem and you look at Worthy, you look at Magic, okay, you see like, okay, nobody's in their way. Someone was willing to play the third role. You look at the big 3 Celtics. Someone was willing to play the third role. You look at the big 3 Heat. You look at the big 3 Celtics. Skip, there has to be, I want to know, Kyrie Irving didn't want to be Robin to Batman. He goes from being, not only is he not Robin, hell, he went to being Alfred the Butler. So how's that going to sit with him? And you're under the assumption that he's coming back.
You watch, Kyrie will come back.
Okay.
Obviously, they just acquired, as you pointed out, the all-time greatest Hall of Fame insurance policy, but I think it's more than that. I think it's a Hall of Fame catalyst, a motivator to get Kyrie to clear his head. I'm assuming that he is still suffering mentally over the Capitol building riot.
But you're also assuming that this thing is going to blend together since you assume it.
Okay, who is the point guard with the greatest handles in NBA history? It's Kyrie Irving. He is a pure one to me who can do it all. And James is a 2-guard by trade. That's what he is. He's a 2-guard scorer. So you have a 1, a 2, and you have a Kevin Durant who can play every position. He can bring the ball up or he can play the 5. He can block shots. He can protect the rim. I don't know why that won't fit. They all have a role because they've all played those roles in the past.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, and they'll know it's beautiful, and Kyrie will be back sooner than later. You know it, and I know it.
I know. Really? You think the Nets knew he was going to do this?
You better hope and pray that he's gone.
There ain't no hoping. I'm asking you a simple question. Do you think the Nets thought he would do this?
Do this? Absolutely not.
Okay, then. Yeah. So what you assuming, since you love assuming, I know he's going to be back.
Okay, well, do you know he's not going to be there?
Skip, all I know is where he is now. And he's not on the Brooklyn Nets team. Let's deal with what we know.
Well, you better hope he's not.
I don't hope anything. I hope Kyrie, whatever he has going on, he can get it rectified and get back as soon as possible. But this notion that James Harden is a different player now than he was when he left Kevin Durant. Kyrie Irving is a different player. You actually think Kyrie thought he was on a level with Bron. Kyrie thinks he's on a level with James Harden. So you think he's going to assume he's going to be the third? I don't care how accomplished you are. Somebody has to be 1, 2, and 3. That's the way these work. You know that, I know that. But now all of a sudden, Kyrie, who never wanted to play second fiddle, is going to be the third fiddle.
Do they want to win a championship? You better believe
So he didn't want to win a championship, huh? So Kyrie never didn't want to win another championship, huh?
No, they want to go win one without LeBron. They would like to beat LeBron. You don't think these three would like to go get LeBron? They would love to face LeBron in the finals.
That's what you would love.
Yeah.
That's what you would love.
That's what they would love.
That's what you would love.
No, you know it and I know it, especially Kevin Durant. He eats up LeBron James in finals.
All I know is look here.
Do you remember the last time we saw Kevin against LeBron James in a
He
final?
had a stacked team, Skip.
Oh, really? That team desperate. That team crawled to him to come save them. Am I right? That's what you always tell me. But Draymond was crying tears in the parking lot.
Skip, did that change the fact that Steph Curry was a unanimous MVP? Did that change the fact they had won 73 games that season before? Does that change the fact? You keep saying Joe Harris, Joe Harris. Who's a better shooter, Klay Thompson or Joe Harris?
Well, I'll take Klay Thompson.
Okay,
Is Joe Harris on just catch and shoot? Is he right in the conversation?
The greatest catch and shoot of all times is Klay Thompson. Now, the greatest shooter of all time is Steph Curry. So which guy shoots better than Steph Curry? Skip, it works because if you look at James Harden, when James Harden had Russell Westbrook and he had Chris Paul, and he didn't have the ball, tell the people at home what he did. No, what he did.
You tell him.
No. I want you to
the floor is yours.
No.
You say I'm talking too much.
Finish it. I want you to finish that.
No, I don't even know what you're talking about.
When Chris Paul or Russell Westbrook would have the ball, what was James Harden doing? Standing his butt in the corner.
Oh, really?
When Kevin Durant...
How did James Harden and Chris Paul get Golden State down in impossible trouble in the conference finals? Do you remember this? 3 games to 1 down. Do you remember that?
And they got him down.
And Chris Paul pulled his hamstring. Remember that?
And you know what,
So
James?
I don't know how James did that.
James Harden was so happy with what they accomplished. He said, if you don't get Chris Paul up out of here, I want out of here. That's how happy he was. See, all you want to do is look. You would take a glimmer. You would take a little crack. And you see they did that. But he got it ran Chris Paul up out of town. Russ got up out of town.
Who doesn't want to run Chris Paul out of town? Where has he been where people loved him?
Well, Kobe Bryant wanted him. Kobe Bryant wanted him.
Well, did Kobe want Dwight Howard, who went to Houston? And you say, oh, what happened with Dwight Howard?
Skip.
Nope, didn't want him. Did Kevin Durant want Russell Westbrook? Nope, he said, I got to get out of here.
Okay, hold on. Skip. Kevin Durant is by himself because Kevin Durant can play in any system because he's not as ball dominant as those other 2 guys. His usage rate has never been what it is with James Harden and Kyrie. I get that. But what you're doing is that you're putting all these guys together. The reason why the big threes work and they win titles, and you look at the big 3 Celtics, even with KG, Ray, and Paul Pierce, Skip, they did different things. They didn't need the ball. Kyrie needs the ball in order for him to be most effective. James Harden needs the ball. First of all, James Harden can't continuously run like Steph and Klay, or he gonna drop dead unless he drop 35. You know that, I know that.
Okay, you don't think he'll drop weight just by playing? Has there ever been anyone who played longer, harder than James Harden as far as just balling, just loving to play basketball?
Skip.
Who's played more minutes over the last 8 years that he's been in Houston? Has anybody played more minutes in the league? Nobody has played more minutes than James Harden. He's like an old school, I just want to play basketball player.
I just want to see when James Harden has the ball, dribble, pat that thing behind his back, in between his legs. I want to see what Kevin Durant, and I want to see what Kyrie doing, what he doing that. And then when Kyrie on his and one tour, I want to see what James Harden and KD doing. That's what all I want to see. That's it.
So do I. I want to see that because it's going to be magic.
But I tell you what you did see last night. You saw go Jay let them 3 go. You saw AD. You saw AD. We rolling.
Against Oklahoma City.
Whoa. Like you tell me, are they in the NBA? You didn't say that about
Oklahoma City?
You didn't say that, but when Tom Brady threw for 1,000,000 yards against the Falcons or the Lions.
How lucky is LeBron James? He just got to play at Houston back-to-back while James Harden had quit on the Rockets. Way to go, LeBron. Congratulations.
Whoa. That ain't got nothing to do with me. We worry about our team. See, that's the problem.
Help me out. Who's leading this league in three-point shooting right now? Speaking of Los Angeles. Oh, it's the Clippers. Do you believe they're leading in three-point? And they just shot the Pelicans right out of the gym last night.
Yeah. Who's leading? Who has the best record in the NBA? is the team that's upstairs.
You're in so much trouble. You're not going to be able to duck the Clippers this time.
Skip, we don't worry about the Clippers. We don't worry about the Clippers.
Well, you should.
Why?
Well, the Nets should be worrying about the Clippers because that's they're on a collision course in the finals.
Well, you tickle me, Skip. You know what? You say the kids say the darndest things.
Yeah.
But your
That's
day
true. I'll
coming.
take that.
Your day coming, Skip Bayless.
I think your day just arrived.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are heated today.
No mercy.
Well, after seeing the James Harden trade news, LeBron and the Lakers went on to beat the Thunder 128-99 last night. And after the game, of course, LeBron was asked his thoughts about the blockbuster trade. Take a listen for yourself.
Don't really have too much of a reaction. Obviously trades and things happen every year. And, for me, my main focus on what we do here and how we continue to get better. And that was the case today. The trades happened today, and I couldn't allow myself to kind of indulge in that, knowing that we had a team that we had to play tonight. So my main focus today was on the Thunder.
All right, Shannon, what do you make of LeBron's reaction here?
Well, I think the biggest thing is LeBron is right. Trades do happen all the time, and you can't get caught up and say, okay, this guy went there and that guy went here. I have to worry about what's the focus at hand, and that's getting my team ready to play the Thunder. And although the Thunder is not a great team, but on any given night, you don't play your best. Because like you tell me sometimes, who cares about a Tuesday night? Who cares about a Wednesday night? But clearly the Lakers were focusing from the opening tip. They approached it as such. But I think also Bron understands, being a part of a big three, how hard it is for those pieces to come together in such a short period of time. And if you look at what happened with him, D-Wade, and Chris Bosh, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, I think at one point in time they were 9-8 in the first 17 games because D-Wade was like, okay, am I going to take it or you going to take it? Or you going to take it or I'm going to take it? But we still got to give CB his touches too now because we can't leave him, unnoticed. And so it's a lot harder than people think, especially when you get superstars. D-Wade had won Finals MVP. Chris Bosh was a perennial all-star. LeBron James was who he was, two-time MVP, had gone to the finals. And so, you don't want to step on each other's toes. So it's a lot more, and LeBron understands, it's a lot more difficult than people think. This isn't, one of those video games, Skip, where you just play, well, I'm gonna play with this team and everything's gonna be okay. It doesn't work like that in actuality. It takes time to blend a team together. And so, and plus LeBron's like, I can't worry about what they're doing. They're going to do what they're going to do. I just need to make sure that I'm prepared and my team get better and better every time we step on the court. Because, Skip, with the protocols to where they are now, there's not going to be a whole lot of shoot-arounds. There's not going to be a whole lot of anything. So basically, you're just going to be showing up at the arena and just playing. So I don't really know how much film study. Because, only 10 people in a room at one time now? So the NBA has gotten very strict. Because of these outbreaks, they postponed a few games. And so it's going to be very interesting to see moving forward. But LeBron should not give it like, oh, they traded, oh, good deal. And just keep it moving like he did.
Your demeanor and delivery matched LeBron's in the clip we just saw.
Yeah.
Where you're just dismissing this as it's just another trade. They come, they go. It happens
it's a
all the time.
blockbuster trade, but what are you about to? Man, I can't believe that. Man, the NBA shouldn't have let James Harden go to. So is that what you wanted the reaction? You're upset because you didn't get the reaction from LeBron that you thought you was gonna get.
I'm not surprised by this at all because he is the shrewdest of operators. Trust me, he had thought long and hard about how to respond after the game to the first media question about the blockbuster trade. And I'm pretty sure he decided, I'm not going to continue to fuel the hysteria that is taking the focus and the national spotlight off the Lakers and LeBron James, because that's what just happened. And you cannot tell me that LeBron didn't spend most of his afternoon, if not all of his afternoon, leading up to warming up before the game on the phone with Maverick or Rich saying, what you think? What you think? What you think? Going back and forth about, what do you think?
What are the things, Skip? I mean, they put together two guys that are going to be first ballot Hall of Famers in James Harden and KD. Kyrie's working his way into that discussion.
You don't think LeBron had conversations about, do you think it'll work? What are the problems? Do you think it's going to be an issue
I
or
just
not?
ask you the question. What general manager, what NBA player didn't have that?
Thank you. They all did.
Okay.
It was the talk of the world, the sports world yesterday. It transcended NBA. It was the NFL talk of the world. Every NFL player, even those getting ready for the playoffs, you don't think they were buzzing about this blockbuster?
Yeah, Skip,
Will it work?
It's just like everybody was buzzing when Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay. The NFL world was buzzing. The NBA world was buzzing. It happens when big megastars move teams. This is not you. I mean, you making it seem like this is unique. Was the world not buzzing when LeBron went to the Lakers? Was the world not buzzing?
No.
The world paused when LeBron James made the decision. So you make it seem like James Harden doing this is the first time we've got news like this.
No.
Okay.
You're just telling me that LeBron just shrugged it off, and I promise you he did not shrug it off.
How would you have him to respond?
I don't care how he responds. I was just curious to see how he would. And I thought this was a possibility. I thought he might be a little more generous to them because he likes them and he wants everybody to like him. He wants to be the ambassador for the NBA. I thought he might say it could be a great deal for, AD took the right stance. He said, on paper, it looks great. Well, that's fair. Okay, right. On paper, it does. Now he said you got to go between the lines and see if it starts to work between the lines.
Right.
Okay, that's a fair way to say it. LeBron could have said, "Oh, it's great for the league."
No, and guess what? Had LeBron said that, you would have said Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant would have never said that. They would have never been so complimentary. So LeBron James...
Well, Michael never thought of himself as the ambassador for basketball. He hated everybody.
Skip, here's the thing.
Doesn't LeBron want to be best friends with everybody he plays?
Skip, whatever LeBron thinks, LeBron James is the face of the NBA, just like Michael Jordan was the face of the NBA. But my thing is for you, if LeBron James had been complimentary of this, you would have said, this is why LeBron can never be the GOAT, because Michael Jordan would have never been complimentary. Kobe Bryant would have never been complimentary. Okay, he says, hey, I didn't get caught up into that. I had to get ready to play a game. And now you say, man, he was there. Come on.
He wants to be the face of the league, and all of a sudden, he's not the spotlight of the league.
Is he not the face still?
The focus of this league, the new epicenter of the NBA world, is now in Brooklyn. Not in Manhattan, in Brooklyn. I never thought I would say these words because I grew up with the New Jersey Nets, who were just sort of out of sight and out of mind, and they moved to Brooklyn, and then they ultimately pulled this off.
Well, it was good when they had a doctor.
Okay. Well, when they were in the ABA. Yeah. Okay. I got that. But my point is, this is now the total focus of this league going forward is going to be on will this work or will this not work? Right. And they're going to come out here in the middle of February and play a game at Staples, and it will feel like a preview of the NBA Finals.
Well, if they had fans, Kim, can you imagine? If they had fans and the amount of media, it would almost feel like a finals game.
It would.
With the amount of media credentials and the buzz around it, because everybody would have been on location.
Okay. So, in the biggest picture, LeBron James has the highest IQ in basketball, I think in basketball history. He is already calculating what he's up against. And obviously, injuries can play a part. I'm going to knock on wood. Obviously, KD has injury history. Kyrie has injury history. James doesn't have much. But it could factor into this. But if they stay healthy, LeBron has to know he's going to be up against a much bigger challenge if, in fact, he can get through the West to the NBA Finals. Because I'm going to remind everybody, in the bubble last year, he wound up in the finals against an injury-riddled fifth seed that ultimately, starting with game one, when they obviously lost Bam and Dragic, that had to play high minutes a night. Three kids, Duncan Robinson and Hero and Kendrick Nunn, those three played high minutes like 25 minutes a night. Right. That's who you got to face in the NBA Finals. Well, what if it's KD, Kyrie, and James Harden?
Well, Skip,
won't that be a little different?
Well, here's the thing. Sure, it'll be different, but it's not like somebody just put the Heat there. The Heat had to win 4 rounds.
Okay, they
had
did.
to win 4 games each round.
But weird things kept happening in the bubble, and I think they were a weird thing. They just caught fire, and it felt almost like March Madness.
What was the weird thing that happened to the Clippers and why they weren't there?
Okay, they did not want to be in the bubble. That's as simple as that. We talked about this at length. The Lakers have all agreed they just didn't want to be in the bubble, and they were associating with them and fraternizing with them, and they knew they didn't want to be there.
If you don't mind me asking, if the East is so weak, why are you praising it now? You remember when LeBron was over there and you said the East is terrible? And the only reason he's
used to be.
whoa, time out, Skip.
Okay. So
East,
what?
The East is terrible. If it was a cakewalk then, why is it so tough now?
Well, because KD went there and Kyrie went there, and now James Harden went there.
Do you notice? All those 2 of those guys that you mentioned were in the West. My guy came West.
Yeah.
They went East.
Okay. If you think they're running?
I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing. I'm just telling you what my guy did. Because you said my guy was ducking and dodging.
He was chasing Michael B. Jordan to Hollywood. That's what he was doing. And if he could get AD here, he'd have a shot. And in the bubble, he got a shot. And I believe it was the luckiest path to a finals you will ever find, ever, because they even dodged the Clippers.
No, they didn't
dodge
dodge
the Clippers.
Skip, they didn't dodge the Clippers. The Clippers had the same opportunities that the Lakers had. They didn't play more games. They played less games because they got beat. They gagged, Skip.
It was the bubble. Half of them didn't even show up on time.
Let me ask you a question.
How long did the Clippers have to quarantine because guys were leaving the bubble?
Let me ask you a question. Had LeBron James and AD blew a 3-1 lead and they had double-digit leads in all the time, would you have chalked it up to the bubble or would you have said they choked?
Well, they didn't. So
no, don't do that. No, don't do me like that.
I'd have to see how it unfolded.
Skip,
The Clippers dominated every game. They were up by 12, then 19, then 15 in 3 straight closeout games.
Okay.
They showed you. Las Vegas kept favoring them by higher numbers than your team was favored when you got to face them in the conference
So that's
finals.
what I'm saying. So if the situation were exactly the same, the Lakers were up by 16, 19, and 12, blowing a 3-1 lead, would you have said it was because of the bubble or would you have said it was because they choked? A simple answer, Skip.
Okay, would the Lakers have been coming in and out of the bubble and not want to be there?
Hold on, first of all, once they got there, nobody left again. Once they got there, nobody left.
For the Clippers?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? They were in and out like crazy. Montrez left. Lou Williams left. You nicknamed him Lemon Pepper Lou.
Yeah, also.
They had to quarantine. They didn't play together.
Okay, what about Avery Bradley not coming? What about Avery Bradley?
Okay.
You said we weren't going to be able to do anything in the bubble because we lost Avery Bradley.
Well, I didn't say that.
Avery Bradley hit those 7 threes in March. That's what you said. You said that.
I don't think it was 7, but it was 5.
Yeah.
That was the Avery Bradley Memorial game. And that was the first game you won against the Clippers, who had cleaned you out twice.
And guess what?
Opening night and Christmas Day.
And we never played, and Avery Bradley didn't come. But in the first game in the bubble between the Clippers and the Lakers, who won that game?
You won that game.
And what did we do?
The Clippers didn't want to be there.
So now they didn't want to be there.
Right?
Nobody wanted to be there, Skip. First of all, everybody keeps saying how mentally tough. And they said, we don't want to go back to the bubble, to not have family, to not have friends. Nobody wants to do. Everybody except Skip Bayless said that was the most mentally challenging thing that they'd had to do in basketball. But now Skip said, oh, because LeBron won it, it wasn't that difficult. But had somebody else won it?
I give him high credit. He kept them together in the bubble. But he smelled blood.
But hold on, Skip.
Did LeBron ever say, I don't feel like I should be here, my heart's not in it because I need to be with Black Lives Matter or whatever? Did he say that?
Name the two teams that when Kenosha happened, that says, okay, let's bounce. Okay. Name the 2 teams.
And then what happened? That was then 2 hours later, what happened in LeBron's room?
LeBron and Chris Paul got on a call with former President Obama, and they had a conversation. He said, you could do more, you do better down there, keeping the focus on it. And when they came back, they said, okay, we're going to do this. But Skip, don't do this. Now, you keep telling me, I'm confused now. Damn. And I think, hell, I got a degree and everything. Went to school. I was pretty good in school. I wasn't great. I was pretty good, though.
I thought you told me you were no good in school.
I was okay, Skip. You keep telling me LeBron James is the most mentally fragile superstar in the history of sports. Yet he just endured the most mentally challenging season in sports. And now, because
we're talking about the last seconds of big playoff games. That's when he is the mentally weakest. As we started to see in the 2011 finals. Do you remember those?
Yeah. You can go back to that 2011 finals, but this is what we know. And nobody has more playoff buzzer beaters. Nobody has more game shots with 10 seconds on the clock.
He's played like 300 more games than anybody else
And
has.
shouldn't he have failed? I mean, come on now.
He has failed far more than anybody has.
He should. Michael Jordan had a commercial.
Nobody has missed more late-game free throws than LeBron James.
So now it's going back to free throw.
He is a disaster at the late-game free throw line. Mental problems.
Has anybody hit more late-game shots? Yes or no?
He's hit, what, 7? In what's he played, 19 years now?
He
Going
played
on
18.
19? Well, he's going on.
Okay.
Yep.
How many did Michael hit?
Well, he's already, what's he played? 350 more games than Michael?
I don't know. I don't count the games. I just make LeBron don't count games. He make the games count.
Did LeBron ever walk off at Utah with a Game 6 buzzer beater to just close?
No, he wasn't in the West at that point in time. But he did walk off against Orlando. He did walk off against Indiana. He did walk off against Toronto. He did walk off and walk it off.
Yeah,
now
he walked right out of that Orlando series in games 4, 5, and 6, as usual. And again, it was cakewalk time against those Pacers and those Raptors featuring DeMar DeRozan.
Oh,
stop it!
So in other words, KD might get an opportunity to play the Pacers this year, right? Is it going to be a cakewalk? He might get an opportunity to play some of these other Toronto. Is it going to be a cakewalk?
Yep.
And the notion that did you keep saying that series that people at home, that series that he's telling you about, Orlando, LeBron James averaged 38, 8, and 8. And boy, he was terrible.
Came apart.
He came apart.
Go look at 4, 5, and 6 and see what happened.
Go look at the numbers. Go look at the numbers in 4, 5, and 6. 38, 8, and 8. 38, 8, and 8. And he was terrible. Man, I sure wish. How many guys you think would like a stat line like that in a playoff game?
Then go look at against Boston the next year, which was his last year, the first time around in Cleveland, and see what happened in games 4, 5, and 6.
And then go to Boston the following year, and then the year after that, and see what happened.
Well, he joined forces with Wade and Bosh.
So what do we? So what are we saying about KD? What are we saying about James Harden? So now they joined forces.
They did.
You don't mention anything, but LeBron James.
Nope. They got this. They just said, this is the way of the NBA world. We got this.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's continue to break down what we're about to see in Brooklyn. Your day is coming. We're continuing the conversation here. As you know by now, James Harden is on his way to Brooklyn to join Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Harden and Durant have accounted for 7 of the last 11 NBA scoring titles, and Kyrie is widely considered to be one of the best scoring point guards in the league. So, Shannon, think about this. Yeah. Is this the best offense ever?
I mean, you look at it on paper, you look at what they have. They got guys that's won multiple scoring titles in KD and James Harden. James Harden, averaged 36 one year, 35, been in the 30s several times. One of the few guys that says, I got a 50-point triple-double on my resume. Had the second longest streak of consecutive 30-point games next to Wilt Chamberlain, Skip. So we know what James Harden is. Kevin Durant, I mean, nothing that really needs to be said. You can provide commentary without even commenting. He is what he is. Kyrie can be spectacular. I watched that. You mentioned that game against San Antonio where he goes bonkers and there's nothing they can do. They're running double teams at him. They're doing everything they possibly can to get the ball in his hand. He gives it up to LeBron, comes and gets it back again and just swishes everything. So we know how dynamic he can be. Skip, remember that game 5 when he and LeBron both goes for 41 against Golden State. So as far as handles and explosive mid-range, got the 3, can pull up from mid-range, can get to the rim with either hand, English off the glass, is exemplary. All 3 of those guys can shoot the ball from the free throw line. So yes, Skip, when you look at it, when you just says, okay, each individual player on his own merit is spectacular. Now we have to blend that together. Skip, and the analogy I would use, bacon. Love me some bacon. Don't eat it often, but I love bacon. Gravy. I love me some gravy, too. Ice cream. Oreo or the American Dream. I think it's a Ben & Jerry's, a Stephen Colbert on the front. Love that. Don't eat it anymore, Skip.
Hope not.
With those 3 things, separate, yummy, combine them. How's it really going to taste? So when you combine all these guys together, what is it really going to look like, Skip? I think everybody wants to know because we know apart what these things can be. Together, are they something close to that? If they are, there's no question. But, Skip, it's still hard. When you look at the Showtime Lakers, Skip, you look at offensively and the amount of points they were putting up. That's how they got the name Showtime, because they were dropping 120 on a night. It seemed like on a nightly basis. So I'm going to need to see these together. On paper, individually, yes, Skip, I don't know. You probably have to go back to the late 60s Lakers when they had Baylor, Wilt Chamberlain, and Jerry West. But in modern time, so we go modern time, Skip, yeah, this is the best collection of offensive talent that I've seen assembled on one team.
Agreed. This has never, ever happened before because you have all-time scorers at 3 spots.
Yeah.
And I'm underscoring the word scorers because that's what they are.
Yeah.
They can flat out score the basketball.
No question.
Because I was all over the Showtime Lakers. I covered much of it. I was at most of those championship games. They were a blast to watch, but I never considered Magic a great scorer.
No, he wasn't. That's not what he was.
I never really considered James Worthy a great scorer.
No.
But could he run the break like anybody this side of Karl Malone?
Yeah.
Yes, he could.
Right.
Could he go off occasionally? Sure,
Yeah.
he could. Could
Game
Kareem,
7 triple-double said
Yeah.
that he could.
Could Kareem get you 40 on occasion? Sure, he could, because he was 7 feet 2. We call him 2.
Yeah.
And he had the unstoppable move called the sky hook. But by nature, he wasn't a killer as far as give me the damn ball and get out of my way.
Especially
he wasn't
Skip,
like that.
once Magic came along with the Lakers. Now, early in his career in Milwaukee,
Yep.
he was a different beast.
Well, even at UCLA. Oh,
Yeah.
God. Unbelievable. Back in those days of Lou Alcindor.
Yes,
He
yes.
was just flat out unstoppable.
Yes.
Okay. So now I compare, when most people think of prolific points, you think of the team that Kevin was a part of previously at Golden State.
Yes.
Okay, so I want everybody to focus on if Kevin's a wash, if he's the one, the constant, to go from team to team,
Yes.
then we have to start looking at, okay, let's go James Harden versus Steph,
Yes.
who would be the next best scorer, obviously, in Golden State, and obviously he was back-to-back MVP.
Correct.
And he did win a scoring title.
Yes.
But James obviously has won 3. And James is one of only 3 players to average 36-plus a year, I mean, in a single year,
yeah.
and it was Wilt and Michael Jordan.
Right.
Okay? So, look, if real quick while we're on Jordan, if you want to throw Jordan in as just in and of himself, a juggernaut of scoring.
Oh, yeah,
I got that. But we're talking about 3.
Yeah, because Pippen and Bill Cartwright, whoever else you put with Jordan,
it just didn't matter.
Right.
Scotty, it just didn't
Right.
matter. Okay. So here's the biggest point about James Harden versus Steph. James Harden has 98 40-plus point games in his career.
Right.
Steph has 39. So he's he's
Basically double.
Yeah, he's way more. You're going on tripling him. And remember, Steph has actually played a lot more games than James has in his career. James is at 621. This is just regular season games. And Steph is at 710.
Right.
So, again, 98, 40-plus for James to 39 for Steph. Well, is Steph the greatest shooter we ever saw?
Yes.
Yes. But there's a big difference between shooting and scoring.
Correct.
James is just a natural-born scorer
Right.
of the basketball.
Right.
He's going to do it at the free throw line
Right.
because, as I mentioned, the last 6 years,
Yes.
he's led the league in attempts and made.
Skip, when you talk about, and there is, because Larry Bird is a better shooter than Jordan, but Bird couldn't score the basketball.
Not like that.
Right.
Okay.
So you're
so
absolutely
obviously
right.
James has every trick in the book to either get to the line or get to the rim.
Right.
Left-handed, he's got right-handed, he's got everything you want, and he's going to shoot a high number of threes and shoot them pretty well. He's not a great shooter, but
No.
he's a very good shooter from 3.
Yeah.
Okay?
He's streaky.
Okay, so I'm going to take James over Steph. Okay, that leaves us Kyrie versus Clay.
Right.
Well, is Clay the most explosive scorer I've ever seen? Yes, because he can go off and score, what was it, in the
60.
quarter? But
Well, he scored 37 in the quarter.
37 in a quarter. It's impossible. I can't even make the math work in my mind.
Got 60
But I've
in
seen it.
29
Just
minutes. Right.
Okay? And he can go for 60. But can he do it every night? Well, obviously he doesn't.
Right.
There's some streakiness to it. And also there's some role playing in it because a lot of nights he's fine just to play defense and not score.
He's fine, Skip. When KD came, he was perfectly fine going from 2 to 3. And Steph was perfectly fine going from 1. Steph is, and I've said this, Steph is the greatest, most unselfish, greatest player I've ever seen. Because you're not going to find very many of them with his resume. So, no, I'm cool. Bruh, I'll let you drive my car. Because Golden State's his team.
Yeah.
And he said, KD, you come here.
That's true.
You can drive. I sit in the front seat.
He did.
And not only did Clay, that was in the passenger seat in the front, he said, I'm going to get in the back. Bro, I'm cool. I'm still in the car.
Okay.
And we still going to the same location, which is NBA titles.
Okay, so let's look at Kyrie versus Clay. Kyrie has actually played far fewer games. He's at 535 for his career, and Klay Thompson has 615 games under his belt.
Right.
And obviously, he's still out.
Right.
But now let's just go to 30-point games for your career. Kyrie is at 100 30-plus point games.
Right.
Clay is at 57. So he's almost doubled him in 30-point games.
Correct.
Because he's a scorer.
Right.
He can just get on any given night. Kyrie can just go off for an easy 30, and you kind of wake up at the end of the game and say, he got 30 plus?
And I think the thing is because Clay has really never had, I don't know if Clay has ever had the ball in his hands for more than 2 or 3 dribbles. Skip, so it's Kyrie's going to have the ball, and that's not Clay's game. Clay's not a guy that's going to have the ball in his hand, dribble, trying to get to the rim. Clay is moving. He's catch and shoot. He's one dribble, pull up, shoot the ball. So he's not put in that situation. But to your point, KD, James Harden, and Kyrie, individually, we've never seen anything like this. The question is, Skip, can they blend it together? Because somebody's going to have to concede something.
Okay, I got it. But just on star power, firepower, those 3 together, I've never seen anything like that collection of scoring talent. Not shooting talent, just scoring talent. Okay?
Yeah.
And yet I look down the list. I got to throw out my Spurs because you got Duncan Ginobili Parker.
Right.
But, you know.
None of them were scorers.
They weren't scorers. They were just great basketball players who blended, to your point, together.
Right.
They could play together.
Right.
They could play beautiful basketball. They shared the basketball. But nobody ever said, oh, we're afraid they're going to shoot us out of the gym.
Because Tony Parker was a point guard, Skip. And guess what? They going to dump that ball down to Duncan. And Duncan going to do what he does.
Right.
Manu was the great role player, that he was the ball of energy. He's coming off. He's going to handle the ball, going to do his thing. But Skip, these guys here, no, you can go to all the big threes. And I go back a long ways, and they've been, the Sixers, when they had George McGinnis, and they had World Be Free, and they had Dr. J.
Yep.
They didn't have this. They had Moses Malone and Andrew Toney and Doc. No. Nobody's had this.
And obviously the Bird team you mentioned, but it's McHale and Parrish.
Yeah.
Okay?
They're
really great as a trio.
Right.
They can win a whole lot of games.
They're not scorers.
They're not scorers. The closest thing to it to me outside of the Golden State team would be Paul Pierce and Ray and KG.
Right.
Because that's got some firepower to it. Those guys can all score, but Ray wasn't a natural-born scorer. He was more of a Steph-like.
He was more like Clay.
Yeah.
He's running all over. Ray was content with Reggie. All those guys, Skip. If you look at the great three-point shooters, look at Kyle Korver. What's he do? Continuous motion. Reggie Miller, continuous motion. Ray Allen, continuous motion. Steph.
Yep.
Steph was the only one that was a point guard, so he had the ball in his hand somewhat. But Steph give it up, and good luck trying to keep up with him and find him.
Okay. Could Paul Pierce score like James can?
No.
Hell
no.
No, he was the truth.
Yeah, he was the truth, but Skip, there's only been a handful of guys. I mean, you got to go back. I'm talking about like at the guard position. At the guard position, you got to go back to Kobe and Jordan. They the only guys that can score like that.
Yep.
That ability to go get 60 and to go get 50 and all these 30-point games and make it look so effortless.
Yep.
There's not a whole lot of. There's only been a handful of guys in the history of the game that could do that.
Okay, and now it brings us to KG, another 7-footer, longer than Kevin is. Maybe I don't know. It's pretty close between those two, but he was a dominating 7-footer. But could he shoot and score like Kevin?
No.
Well, obviously.
Even when he was at Minnesota, Skip, I never looked at him. I looked at him as a great basketball player, but I didn't look at him as a scorer. When you look at big men, Skip, I look at big men. When I think of score, I'm thinking Wilt. Wilt didn't shoot the ball, but Wilt could score the basketball. So that's what I look at. When you look at a big man, is he going out there? I never looked at KG and said, man, KG going out there to try to get 40 tonight. James Harden going out there to try to light you up. I don't believe Kevin could score more than what he does.
Easily.
If Kevin were to shoot the ball, say like James Harden was doing in Houston, or when Kobe was, at his apex shooting the ball, or Jordan, there ain't no question in my mind KD could average 35, 36 points a night. With the efficiency that he has, his ability to shoot the three, the mid-range, can put it on the floor, can shoot the free throw at a high level, there's no question he could average 35.
Must-see TV.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the greatest collection of scores we've seen. But I don't know putting that many scores, Skip, on one team. You know, that's like having Derrick Henry, Emmitt Smith, and Barry Sanders on the same team, Skip. You got one football. What you gonna do?
I know, but they can't really pass the ball to each other in football the way these guys can share the basketball.
Well, Skip, you remember now in the Pro Bowl, the voting, they used to take 4 running backs.
Yep.
But you had Emmitt Smith at the fullback position for Barry, or you had Barry the fullback. They're like, oh, this ain't gonna work. So they started taking 3 running backs and a fullback so you could have some resemblance of a run game. The question is, Skip, Kyrie gets back. He gets his situation resolved, whatever he has going on, and hopefully he gets that sooner rather than later. But take your time, whatever you have going on. How do they blend this together, Skip? It's not easy. I know you think it's fun. It's fun to talk about, but I don't think it's going to be as easy as you think it's going to be.
Maybe not.
A lot of personalities, a lot of egos, a lot of talent, but still, we'll see how this one all plays
He didn't
out.
want him to take down GOAT, but GOAT ain't going nowhere.
No mercy.
What's up, Undisputed listeners? It's your boy, Shay Sharpe. I wanted to tell you about my new podcast, Club Shay Shay, where we always do something before 2 something. Each week, I sit down with a guest for a drink and conversation, and as host and proprietor of Club Shay Shay, I've welcomed in esteemed guests such as Snoop Dogg, Floyd Money Mayweather, LeVar Ball, Isaiah Thomas, just to mention a few. Whether I'm talking to an athlete, a musician, an actor, or a lifelong friend, Club Shay Shay is a place where people share inspiring and motivational stories about their journeys to prominence. The new episode drops every Monday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe to Club Shay Shay now and make sure you never miss a new episode. Now back to Undisputed.
No mercy. Well, James Harden won 3 scoring titles and an MVP during his time in Houston, in which the Rockets paired him with stars like Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, and most recently, Russell Westbrook. They also made the playoffs every year he was there, but got bounced in the first round 3 times and only made the conference finals twice. So, Shannon, how much was James Harden to blame for not winning a championship in Houston?
Well, Skip, I think he has to take the superstar, the great players on any team. When things don't go well, he has to take the lion's share of the blame for the simple fact when things do go well, who gets the lion's share of the credit? And so I think James Harden bears a lot because he's come up small. The Houston Rockets, Skip, everything since James Harden got there, everything that they did was with the thoughts of James Harden in mind. Who are the best pieces that we can put around him to make sure that he succeeds? Everything they did, Skip, whether it was bringing in Dwight Howard, whether it was bringing in Chris Paul, whether it was bringing in Russell Westbrook, Clint Capella, whomever they brought in, the style of play that they played was all conducive to give James Harden the best opportunity to win. And it didn't work out. You know, even though they brought in supporting Eric Gordon, can shoot the 3, he's been a starter, he comes off the bench. PJ Tucker, who's the glue, he does it all. PJ Tucker can't be more than 6'5", but he'll guard from anybody from AD to Jokic to Anthony Davis. He had the hardest job because he had to fight. And by game 4 or 5, Skip, he was exhausted, trying to battle Anthony Davis, trying to battle JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard for the entirety of a ball game. So he was exhausted. But Skip, when I look at James Harden and look at what he's done in the playoffs, 2015, they benched him against the Clippers, and the Rockets made a big comeback. Remember, he had 12 turnovers, the most in a playoff game, elimination against the Warriors. He went 2-11 against the Spurs without Kawhi on his home court, lost by 39.
Without Tony Parker.
And without Tony Parker. They lost a 3-2 lead to the Warriors. He went 2 for 13 from 3 in Game 7 and couldn't do anything with the Warriors without Kevin Durant. So James Harden bears a lot of culpability in all of this. Is he the only reason? No. But I got to give him the lion's share of the blame because them making the playoffs and them numbers that he put up, he got the lion's share of the credit when they won. You must be willing to take the lion's share of the blame when you lose. So he bears a lot of culpability. He's not the sole reason, but he's the biggest reason.
Okay, when it comes to playoff flameouts, big moment flameouts, I will not even begin to try to defend James Harden because he is a flameout waiting to happen. He would be one guy I would trust the least. Not just in, it's not clutch last shot moments. It's like big game moments where he just disappears right on schedule when you need him the most.
Correct.
I give you that. In clutch situations, clutch games, he is nothing but a complimentary star that needs star power around him to carry him. And conversely, Kevin Durant, Kyrie, I've seen them be very clutch and take over games at the highest level of NBA Finals.
Well, I think the difference is now, Skip, KD did get to the finals with James Harden and Russ. But James Harden was in a situation, he was the de facto leader, the best player on that team. Now, we haven't seen Kyrie do anything close to what the success that he enjoyed when he's playing alongside LeBron. Now, Kevin Durant, yeah, he won those 2 finals, but you got to realize he had 2 other historically great players playing alongside him in Steph and Clay and
but
Draymond.
he was the MVP.
Yes.
Back-to-back finals, and it both turned on the game 3s in LeBron's house in Cleveland, and Kevin just took over both of those games. And it took my breath away.
But, Skip, you also now, are you saying the pieces that James Harden had were comparable to the pieces that KD had?
No. So I'm going to give James Harden some break for what happened in Houston during regular seasons, because I look at his regular seasons and I say, wait a second, over the 8 years he was in, it's 8+ years. In the 8 years he was in Houston, he had the 3rd most wins in basketball. In the games he played in, they won the 3rd most games in all of basketball. They averaged 53 wins a year. Well, as you know, that doesn't grow on Houston palm trees either. It doesn't. It's hard to find that.
Right.
53 wins a year. They're going to miss that starting right now.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so let's look at the help that he got. He had Dwight for 3 years, and they started out, they won 54, then they won 56, and the last year it fell completely apart, and they went 41-41, but they did make the playoffs. He made the playoffs every year for 8 straight years. And
that might be the longest streak, isn't it?
I don't know. Probably it is.
I can't, I guess did KD make the playoffs every year?
Let's see.
Because I know he, obviously made it with the Golden State.
But I mean,
last
he was
3 years.
gone last year, so yeah. But the point is,
well, he was on the roster, so no, he didn't. No, he didn't.
Well,
so.
he was on the roster.
Right.
Okay. So the point is, so first you go Dwight. Well, what had just happened to Dwight? Kobe had rejected him and just basically said, you're done here.
Right.
And that was Kobe's doing. He just said, you don't care enough. You don't take basketball seriously enough. You're out there warming up before games, shooting half-court hook shots. And Kobe said, I can't accept that. I can't live with
the backpack on?
Yeah, with the backpack on. Okay? So that's Dwight. You got the best of Dwight last year because he was on his best behavior.
Yeah.
And I thought he found his role. He swallowed his pride. And he said, you know what? I'm a backup. And I will come in for JaVale or whoever I'm going to come in for, and I'm going to mix it up, and I'm going to go sort of gray area, and I'm going to provide some edge and some physicality for your Lakers last year. That was the best you got of Dwight.
Playing good this year, too.
For the Sixers. It's a good fit. Okay, so, but it didn't work with James, but it's, can you really trust Dwight? I wouldn't.
But, Skip, you look at Dwight's numbers, Dwight was still putting up phenomenal numbers.
Because he can. Look at it. Look at that body. Look at the rim protection he can provide. But it didn't work.
Didn't work.
Okay, so then we go to CP3. 2 years of Chris Paul.
Right.
Okay, what had happened with the Clippers? Well, he and Blake Griffin fell completely apart, and the whole organization seemed to be out on Chris, because Chris is hard to get along with. And James tried, and they had that one magical run and got Golden State in a big hole, and Chris pulled his hamstring.
Right.
But it was working the best it could work.
Right.
Where has Chris been the best? Well, he was a solo superstar with those younger Pelicans. Remember that?
Yeah.
He's fine with that, because you want to talk about ball dominant, it's just Chris or bust for those early Pelicans.
They were the Hornets then, weren't they?
Or whatever they were. I'm just calling them the Pelicans now. They were the Hornets. But now we fast forward to last year in Oklahoma City. Chris was great because he was the alpha and elder statesman on a young team.
Right.
Fast forward to Phoenix. He is the alpha and elder statesman on a young team. That will work.
Right.
But when you try to pair Chris up with a fellow superstar, he's going to clash. He's going to rub you the wrong way.
I think the thing that rubbed Chris Paul the wrong way, Skip, when he had the ball, James Harden seems uninterested.
All right.
He was like just standing in the corner. He was just like biding his time for him to have the ball back in his hand. And he's like, well, bruh, when you have the ball, we setting screens and we're interested. We're trying to do something,
Okay.
but you seem uninterested
All
with
right,
someone
I got
other than
that.
you.
But they did have Golden State dead to rights
They had 'em.
in the conference finals,
Yes,
right?
yes, they did. They did.
So they're like one big win away from going to the NBA finals together.
Well, Skip, hold on. If James Harden is that dude, if he's that dude, what
Okay.
you telling me,
Okay,
he
but
got to bring that one home.
Okay, but he's not that dude to do that. I told you. He's a complimentary superstar who needs to be with Kevin and Kyrie.
What the hell, on Skip? The man got 3 scoring titles. He's an MVP. He's in the MVP discussion every single year, and he
But what has
complimentary.
happened at the highest level,
Yes.
when you need him the most, he has not been there.
So, in other words, to make a long
Okay.
story short, you going to blame him for this, right? He get the bulk of the blame?
Bulk of the blame in Houston?
Yes.
Okay, what I'm trying to tell you is he got thrown into situations with guys who are really hard to play with and get along with because we get to 1 year last year of Russell Westbrook.
Right.
What did Kevin Durant say about Russell Westbrook? I can't win a championship with him as the primary decision maker on my team because Russell every time brought the ball up the court. It was Russell's choice whether to shoot it, drive it and shoot it, pull up and shoot it, or dish it over on the wing to Kevin saying, I'm open, I'm over here.
I just want to ask you this.
Yep.
Dwight Howard, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook.
Yep.
Are they in Houston without James Harden's blessing?
No, but he said, I'll take them because they're all-star help, right?
Skip.
Okay, but can you condemn James for not being able to work with 3 guys who didn't work elsewhere?
But hold on. We're assuming that it's all them. What about James Harden? Skip, it's like, when you get a toy, I'm telling my grandma, I buy a toy, great, I want this. And she scrape up money and get it. And then after a day or two, I'm not playing with that toy. She said, boy, if you don't play with that toy, I'm going to tear your ass up. You asked for it. James Harden asked for Dwight Howard. He asked for Chris Paul. He asked for Russ and said, if you don't give me Russ, I'm going to request a trade.
Okay,
Skip,
and you know what? It worked last year. I thought they were really good together. I was more of a fan of them than you were. They went 44-28. They won game 1 against the Lakers. It was 112-97. It was pretty impressive.
Skip, but the thing is that, look, I understand you have friends and, you grow up together, but it's a different animal, Skip, when you with that friend every single day. Russ and James, they good friends because, Skip, we play each other. Yeah, bro, how you doing? We maybe see each other play pickup basketball, maybe go grab a bite to eat. But then when you're around that friend every single day and you see there are some things that you're like, bro, how we going to win if you're doing it like this?
Okay.
How do we get better if you're showing up late, if you're doing this? Like I said, I understand that superstars get preferential treatment. Mm-hmm. I got no problem with that, Skip. But at some point in time, at what cost or how abusive are you to the privileges that you receive that they become detrimental to the team?
Okay.
And I think Russell thought that what James was doing was becoming detrimental. He says, you know what, let me just go on and get on up out of here.
Okay, but now you have put him with 2 guys who do know how to win basketball games, especially the best player on the planet, the big guy, the 7-footer Kevin Durant, knows how to win basketball games. So in the pinch, in the clutch, whatever playoff situation it is, I'm going to trust Kevin to say, I got this. And I'm going to trust James to say, yeah, you got this.
But Skip, that's different. In a game-winning situation, AD or LeBron, for the most part, 98% of the time. Now, LeBron got trapped and he kicked the ball out to Danny Green. But in a situation, you don't think Kyrie going to be wanting to take that shot? You don't think James Harden going to want to be taking that shot?
I do not think James is going to be one taking that shot.
You remember what caused the fallout in Golden State? KD clapping for the ball. Draymond got the ball, dribbling it up the court. He like, oh, shut up, I done done this before. Hey, get up the court, I get it to you.
You know who was wrong in that situation? Draymond was wrong.
I'm just saying, Skip.
Okay, and Kevin is as sensitive, thin-skinned a superstar as you will ever find. He said, okay, I'm gone.
Skip, you know how it works in the heat of the moment.
Yep.
Guys ain't thinking about, oh, man, that dude made that shot. Okay.
James is going to be like, thank you. You got this.
Jay going to be dribble, dribble,
no,
and dribble. Hey, and he going to hit that step back on him.
No mercy.
Hey, Undisputed listeners, it's Charlotte Wilder here to tell you about my new podcast with Mark Titus called the People Sports Podcast. It comes out every Thursday, and Mark and I take one of the big stories of the week, and then we go off on tangents you never saw coming. This might mean that we start talking about the Dodgers winning the World Series and end up wondering if Knicks fans deserve happiness. or begin with LeBron's greatness and end up drafting our ultimate beer league softball team made up of old athletes. Whatever it is, the only rule of the show is that it has to be fun and funny, because these days we can all use as many laughs as we can get. So check it out wherever you get your podcasts and come down weird sports rabbit holes with us. We can't wait to have you.
No mercy.
Well, guys, James Harden got his wish and is being traded to the Nets in a 4-team deal involving the Pacers and the Cavs. Karis LeVert ended up in Indianapolis. Victor Oladipo is now in Houston as part of the deal that also included several first-round picks going to the Rockets as well. Harden's pairing with Durant and Kyrie has now made the Nets the Eastern Conference favorites, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook, but are still behind the Lakers as favorites to win it all. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard is joining us. Chris, good morning. What a wild last 24 hours. I want to start with you here. Should the Nets be the favorites, or will they be failures?
Well, I'm not going to say they'll be failures, but they aren't the favorites. There's no way I'm making them the favorites. Failure would be not to get to the NBA Finals. And I will give you that they can be the best team in the East. And some of that's because everybody else in the East has question marks. Milwaukee, we've seen them struggle in the playoffs. Philadelphia has a point guard that won't shoot the basketball. Miami's just not that talented. Boston is young. Kemba Walker's got knee issues. So everybody out there is flawed. So, yeah, I can make them the favorites in the East. But basketball is a team sport, and chemistry is important. And we have seen before in the past that you can't just throw a bunch of talent and a bunch of superstars together and it's automatically going to get you a championship or even to the finals. Remember Shaq, Kobe, Gary Payton, and Karl Malone?
Yep.
I get that Malone and Payton were a little older, but the year before they went to the Lakers, they put up all-star numbers. Their problem was chemistry. Remember Olajuwon, Barkley, Clyde Drexler, and then Pippen in for Drexler later on? Those teams, those guys still could play, but it didn't work chemistry-wise. And this, what is in Brooklyn, is the greatest chemistry experiment I have ever seen in my 26 years of covering the NBA. You would be a fool to write them off completely. You got to give them a puncher's chance because of all of that firepower. But I am not putting them ahead of the Los Angeles Lakers, who right now look like they're head and shoulders above everybody else in the league. They got 3 issues in Brooklyn. 1, style of play. 2, ball-dominant guards that over-dribble, and want to be the man. The second thing is egos and personalities. With Kyrie, there's the unknown. Is he even coming back? We have no idea. What type of headspace is he going to be in when he comes back? And then there's the known. We know he left a championship team in Cleveland because he wanted to be the man. He woke up this morning, maybe he was on a political call last night or something. He woke up this morning and he's the 3rd best player on the team all of a sudden. Is he going to be happy with that? Yeah. So you got those issues. And then thirdly, defense. You don't have to be, a tremendous defense, but you got to pay attention to the defensive end. And they've got 3 stars who aren't defensive-minded and coaches that aren't defensive-minded. So all those question marks lead me to still go with the Lakers. Who's guarding AD? Who's stopping LeBron? So I'll give you the East, but you ain't beating the Lakers.
Go.
No, I want to go. I want to sit over here and gloat some more.
So, Chris Broussard, I believe that the Brooklyn Nets, unbelievably, not the old New Jersey Nets became the Brooklyn Nets. And because they just signed out of the blue Kyrie and KD, and then they outbid the 76ers for James Harden, that they just won this year's championship and or next year's championship because that window is open. I give you chemistry experiment. But to me, if you blend the best player on the planet, the most efficient scorer of the basketball I have ever seen in Kevin Durant, a 2-time back-to-back finals MVP, an alpha who shocked me by how he took over the Golden State Warriors and led them to back-to-back championships. And you add a man who's a two-guard by trade, who is James Harden, who is simply the most revolutionary perimeter scorer we have ever seen. A man who also led the league in assists and who also last year led the league in steals and who is a very underrated, disruptive defensive player who was 6th last year in deflections and 3rd in loose ball recoveries because he played his tail off on defense and he reduced his usage rate from 41% all the way down to 35%. That's a big drop just for his buddy Russell Westbrook. If he sacrificed that for Russell, he'll sacrifice this for Kyrie. Kyrie is simply a point guard, a clutch shooting point guard with the greatest handles I have ever seen, even beyond Allen Iverson. I'd have to go back to Curly Neal of the Globetrotters to find handles like these.
Isaiah had handles.
Okay? I know, but not like Kyrie.
No, but
okay, listen.
Give you Kyrie.
What's that?
I give you Kyrie.
Yeah, Kyrie got the best, yeah.
Okay,
I give you Kyrie. I think he's the best ball handler ever.
So you have a point guard. You have a 2 in James, and I get you. He can be ball dominant, but I don't think he'll be nearly with this group. And you have a Kevin Durant who doesn't need to touch the basketball that much to score 30 a game. He can get you 30 on 12 shots.
He might not touch it that much with those other 2 guys.
Okay? And Chris, I thought this team would be gutted by this trade. And then I sit back and say, wait a second. They still have Joe Harris, the NBA's three-point shooting championship, champion from a couple of years ago. And you kept TLC and Bruce Brown. And I can go right down. Jeff Green is there. I like this team. And I didn't mention DeAndre Jordan, who just 3 and 4 years ago was first-team all-defense. He's only 32. You can't tell me he's washed up at 32.
Yeah, but that's a 32 for a big man. I mean, come on.
Come on. Well, Kareem played till he's 40.
Man, stop it.
Well, he did. Okay? So I love the chances of this team. And as you say, it depends on Kyrie's head. I'm not sure where it's at. But I'm saying that James Harden will be a Hall of Fame insurance policy. But beyond that, he'll be a catalyst and a motivator to get Kyrie back in the fold and back re-engaged to play basketball at the highest level.
Chris, he's saying this. He said, well, James Harden sacrificed to play with Russ. Now he's going to have to sacrifice a third more to play with KD and Kyrie. So now all of a sudden the guy that's over the last, say, 5 or 6 years averaging about 31 points a game. So basically he's about to see that go down to what? The low 20s? Maybe even the teens? Really?
You won't go in the teens.
I mean, I'm just asking. So, Skip, somebody, now, I don't really know. I don't know if there 20 shots to go around with 3 different guys, Chris? Have you ever known 3 different guys to take 20 shots per game? I haven't seen it. Now, Kevin Durant doesn't...
That's tough to do.
Kevin Durant doesn't need 20 shots. He can get you 30 points on 15, 16 shots. He's that efficient. But the other 2 guys, Skip, they need the ball. They're not catch and shoot like Steph and Clay. So that's why it blended so easily. And guess what? Steph was a 2-time league MVP. Man driving a Ferrari, which is from the Golden State. He pulls up on KD. KD, hey, man, I want to join, man. It's okay, bro. He gets out, goes on the passenger side. KD drives.
Why was that? What had just happened to Steph Curry?
Yeah, he lost. Yeah.
They blew a 3-1 lead, and Steph just went south in those last 3 games. He was a no-show.
But even though it happened, that man still's a superstar. What other superstar you know concedes it like that?
Okay, and that superstar got a couple of more rings.
I'm sitting with Skip. The thing is with James Harden and Kyrie wanted... Chris, Kyrie left Cleveland because you said he didn't want to be Robin, he wanted to be Batman. Not only is he not Batman in the jersey, not only is he not Robin, he, at best case, he Alfred, maybe Commissioner Gordon. That's what he's falling to.
I'd much rather be Commissioner.
Okay, well, he Commissioner Gordon then. He ain't the superhero. Ain't nobody turning on the seat.
Well, none of those people
look,
have superpowers. I think it's a bad analogy.
Batman.
This is the Fab Four here.
Batman got that belt, though. He got all them little handy gadgets, and that's what KD got.
The Batmobile.
KD ain't got no 40-inch vert, but he got the spider like
Okay.
But hey, he got that 8-foot, that 12-foot apex jumper that's wet.
So, Chris, last question to you. How much is LeBron James fearing this?
Well, we're getting to that next, aren't we?
Well, okay, but I just want to know, because I'm putting this in the context for you and Shannon of two guys who like or love LeBron. This guy loves LeBron.
We call it like we see it.
And I think there's a little trepidation and a little bit of criticism of what just happened in Brooklyn because you're trying to protect your man LeBron. That's just me.
No, well, let me say this to you, Skip. If I had my druthers, if I was Steve Nash, I would want the Nets to have Harden at the point guard, Kyrie at the 2, and, KD obviously playing off the ball, because I think Harden could be a great, just regular point guard. Running the offense. Okay. He is a tremendous passer, getting the ball to those two, and he still give you probably 23 points. But like Shannon said, is he willing to even drop that far?
Yep.
So, look.
It's a good point.
The potential is great. I'll give you that. But still, to answer your question quickly, 0. That's how concerned I'm
That's what I got to do.
Okay, well, hold on to that thought.
No mercy.
After seeing the James Harden trade news, LeBron and the Lakers went on to beat the Thunder 128-99 last night. And after the game, LeBron was asked, as you'd expect, his thoughts about the blockbuster trade. So take a listen for yourself.
Don't really have too much of a reaction. Obviously trades and things happen every year. And, for me, my main focus on what we do here and how we continue to get better. And that was the case today. The trades happened today, and I couldn't allow myself to kind of indulge in that, knowing that we had a team that we had to play tonight. So my main focus today was on the Thunder.
Interesting. Chris Broussard still with us. So, Chris, what do you make of LeBron's reaction to the trade?
Skip, I spent a lot of time around LeBron when he was younger, his first stint in Cleveland. And his growth and maturation as a leader is incredible. He is so comfortable with where he's at, both in his game. He's comfortable when you shoot a 3 and turn around and look at your teammates.
Skill ain't got over that yet.
He is comfortable. Because, look, this was the perfect answer. This was essentially... So, he was, if we focus on us, can't anybody beat us? Nobody can beat us. We got myself and AD. Some people said we got the 2 best players in the world. I don't go that far, but they have enough, and he knows it. Their chemistry, their defense, their offense, they are clicking on all cylinders. And they have one thing that the Nets don't have, even if it works swimmingly for the Nets. You know what they don't have? A great leader. Who is the leader? Harden's had trouble as a leader. Kyrie is really the most dominant personality, but we know he's not a great leader. KD definitely isn't a leader. So that is important to have. And this is not Golden State. Shannon alluded to it earlier. This is not KD, Steph, Clay, and Draymond. All 3 of those scorers on Golden State could catch and shoot. None of them needed to dominate the ball. And Steph and Clay were awesome at moving without the ball. They were continuous movement. And then you got Draymond, the 4th star, who doesn't even need the ball. He's a playmaker. He's not looking to score. So it was a perfect fit. We had no questions about KD fitting in the Golden State at all. Now all we have are questions in Brooklyn. And LeBron is such a smart basketball guy. He sees that just like we do. So, no, at most, Skip, he's concerned maybe it's going to be harder maybe to three-peat. But this year, he knows how hard it is to win it right away. Remember, he didn't win it his first year in Miami. Why? Yes, he did melt down in the finals, but it was also that he and Dwayne Wade couldn't figure out their roles yet. Their games were repetitive, so who's the man? How do we figure this out? And that could be the case with Harden and Kyrie. So LeBron understands that. I don't think he's concerned at all.
You want to add to that before I subtract?
Add again.
Chris Broussard. What happened when Kevin Durant went to Golden State? And by the way, according to Shannon Sharpe, he repeats the story often on this show, Draymond fled into the parking lot after they blew the 3-1 lead and called KD on his cell phone and cried crocodile tears saying, we need you to come save us. Am I right about that?
Yeah, they were real tears. They were crocodile real.
Then who took over the team as the unquestioned leader on and off the floor of that team? To me, it was Kevin Durant.
No, he took over as the best player. He wasn't a leader. And Kevin Durant has told you.
Right.
He don't care about that leader. He just want to play. He just want to hoop.
They just looked to him and said, when we got him, we got it.
Skip, just because you're the best player on the team, that doesn't automatically make you. Let me ask you a question. He leading so well. Kyrie gone after 5 games. And he don't know where yet.
Well, who could lead Kyrie? He's got
They never do that later. LeBron, he never did that with LeBron.
LeBron led him.
LeBron had it for 3 years and he never went AWOL.
Oh, they said Kyrie was always distant and wouldn't talk to anybody?
Yes.
Okay.
He's already doing that. He's already.
You think LeBron really led Kyrie? I don't.
LeBron, hey,
Stop it. Okay, so what I heard was LeBron was trying to dismiss this as just another trade. They happen all the time in the NBA because he's a shrewd enough operator to know he did not want to fuel the hysteria that has now taken the spotlight off the championship Lakers and put it on Brooklyn, New York, where I thought it would never be when it came to the NBA. The new epicenter of basketball is Brooklyn. Everybody's eyes are now going to be on, will it work or will it not work? And I think it is eating LeBron up. And don't tell me that you spent the afternoon focused on the Thunder.
We did.
I'm calling baloney on that one. You can't tell me LeBron was quickly not on the phone with Maverick and Rich saying, what you think? What you think? Because that's just what humans do, because it's the greatest chemistry experiment ever, as Chris Broussard so aptly put it.
Skip, LeBron knew. Everybody knew after James Harden's performance the other night and what he said coming to that podium. We knew it was just going to be a matter of time.
Well, everybody reported it was already in the works. Okay, well, he just put there's the final nail in the coffin.
Yeah, he
had been apprised that it was close.
Right.
So he basically gave his farewell speech to Houston. I did all I could for this city.
Well, he put the finishing touch. He put the finishing touches on it to make sure it got crossed. So we're going to go ahead.
Okay.
You done?
All right. So when we look at what is LeBron up against, well, Chris, think about this. He's got to be shaking in his sneakers because what happened in the bubble? Most teams didn't want to be in the bubble, especially my Clippers. Half of them came and went. And in the end, everybody agreed the Clippers just didn't want to be there. So they blew a 12-point lead in the first closeout game, then a 19, and then a 15-point lead in the next couple of closeout games, and they blew it in 7 games. And you dodged the Clippers, and then who did you get to play in the finals? You got to play the injury-riddled 5th seed from the East, the Miami Heat, who then had to play 3 very young players, 2 of them rookies, one a second-year player, Duncan Robinson and Tyler Hero and Kendrick Nunn. They were playing 25 minutes a night, and that's who you got to beat in the NBA Finals. Those days are over, and LeBron knows it, and LeBron has to be more threatened by this than he is letting on.
But, Chris, you're a boxing fan. I don't know in basketball if you can dodge someone if you and I both have equal opportunities. You've got to win 4 games to advance. I've got to win 4 games. In boxing, if somebody I'm afraid of, I can dodge them. I can say, you know what? No, I'm not fighting him. I'm fighting them. How do you dodge the Clippers? The Clippers had every opportunity, just like the Lakers. So once you decided, okay, I don't want to be here, but once I'm here, I might as well go ahead and do it. And I said this before, Chris. LeBron treated the bubble like I treated college. Hell, I'm here. I might as well get a degree. LeBron says, I'm in the bubble. I'd have spent 3 months in the bubble. I might as well win the championship.
And he might have been the only one to say that.
Well, he should have.
Because he smelled blood. But he said, I can steal one. I got the easiest cakewalk to a finals you've ever had.
Chris, how is the most mentally fragile superstar in the history of sports He's so mentally fragile. He runs from this. He runs from the free throw line.
He does.
He won't take the last shot. But in that bubble, when it took all mental focus because you're away from your family, you're away from your friends, you're isolated, you can't go and come. You got to realize these guys are used to going and coming whenever, however they want to come. And you can't do that. The most mentally weak guy became the most mentally tough guy.
But basketball toughness has nothing to do with leadership. And Chris pointed out, LeBron has matured as a leader. Well, that has nothing to do with last shots. That has to do with keeping your team together in the bubble.
But guess what, Skip? If you're not mentally tough and you can keep your team from splintering, from fraying, nobody wanted to lead the bubble. Nobody wanted to go and come. It was their guys like, look, we gonna do this. That's what my guy, the leader, the best leader in NBA history.
In NBA history. Well, we had a guy named Trez on our team, and he didn't want to be in the bubble, number one, and he tore my team apart, and now he's on your team. Congratulations.
Is he tearing it apart? Is he tearing that team apart?
We'll see how it works out.
How you looking, Chris?
Skip, hey, you looking good. See, Skip, look, last year, I said this months ago, the Clippers should be a cautionary tale for the Nets. So this was long before the trade, but we saw with the Clippers how important mental toughness, chemistry, all of that is. They didn't have it, and they underachieved. Does Brooklyn have it? We've seen Harden struggle at the big moments. I'll give you that Kyrie. I've never seen him shrink on the court. But off the court, that's an issue. And then KD, KD is awesome. But I don't want to hear about how he stuck it to LeBron in Golden State. I mean, come on, that team was just stacked. With or without KD, they were great. And so it was easier for him in those finals. Skip, you have to admit that. All he had to do is catch the ball and shoot it. That's it.
Kevin Durant?
So now we'll see. If he matches up with LeBron, we'll see what he does. But those Golden State years, he didn't outplay LeBron James.
Do you remember the walk-up three where he just dribbled the ball up the floor, shot it right in LeBron's face, and they were down 2, and all of a sudden they're up 1, game 3?
But Chris, the question that I've asked everyone, if you had switched roles, if you had taken LeBron and put him on Golden State with that same team, and you put KD on the Cavaliers, are the Cavaliers beating the Warriors with LeBron, Steph, and Clay? Absolutely not.
Not even close.
They'd have got swept.
Right.
They got swept.
No mercy.
After reports of James Harden wanting a trade and then his public statements about the situation in Houston being crazy and unfixable, the Rockets finally were forced to send Harden to Brooklyn. Former MVP had also previously made it known to the team that Brooklyn was at the top of his list of preferred destinations. So, Shannon, is it a good thing or a bad thing that stars can now force their way wherever they want to go?
Skip, I like the players have more control over their careers, but I just believe there's a better way to handle it. I don't like the way James Harden handled this situation. You show up on time, you show up in shape, and you play hard, although you've let the team know you would like to be moved. You're unhappy, you don't feel you can compete, you can contend for a title, and you would like to go somewhere, get whatever you can get. But please try to accommodate me, because I've seen players give their all to teams and get traded. So I think it's fair play that players should have some control if they're tired and they don't feel that the team is putting them in the position to win. Although I believe Houston did everything they possibly could. But what I feel and what James Harden felt are two different things. I just don't like the way he went about it. Skip, you don't show up late. You don't show up 20, 30 pounds overweight. And you don't quit on your team. As Boogie Cousins said, y'all talk about last night was disrespectful. Hell, the disrespect happened long ago. Off the court, in the offseason, how he showed up looking.
Well, he didn't show up.
Exactly. And when he did show up, I'm like, no. So I don't have a problem with Skip, with guys say, look, I'm unhappy here, just like teams. Teams always say it's a business decision. We're trying to get better when they move players. Well, players says, you know what? I want to get better. I want to contend for a title. But I just believe there's a level of professionalism that should be exhibited on both sides. And I thought what I thought was going to really happen, Skip, that it was because once they told him to stay away, I said, well, they're going to tell him to stay away because he's poisoning the water until we find a trade partner. Didn't know they were already working behind the scenes, but until we found a trade partner, you just stay away because it's best that you just stay away. But that lasted for about 6 hours. They found a partner, and they got him up out of there.
Yep. So I find this a fascinating and frustrating question because I have always been pro-player versus ownership. Your league that you played in is still run by the owners.
Absolutely.
They are in command and in control, ultimately,
yes.
right?
Yep.
This league has been more and more player-centric, yet it's come to the point where players are exercising their power in the wrong ways, but with the power, because they do have the power. I told you how many times on this show about my man Kawhi Leonard. He's my favorite player in San Antonio, and I have forgiven him for what he did to my team, but I will never forget what he did because he wrecked it. And they did the best they could to get out from under him because he just quit his way out of town.
Yeah, he wasn't coming back.
He had a master plan, and he said, if I have to go 1 year for a layover in Toronto, I'm going to get home to L.A. the next year.
Right.
And he pulled it off like clockwork.
It'd have been interesting to see, Skip, if he'd had a situation like James Harden, if he'd had 2 years left on the contract.
Okay.
What would have been his course of action?
Good question. But he took on an organization that was looked at as the Patriots of the NBA.
Right.
The one that you did not challenge. The one coach you did not mess with was Coach Pop. And he just said no to Coach Pop. I'd never seen anything like it. No players ever challenged Greg Popovich like this young man. He was still a very young man. And yet, all they could get back, they got DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl. And what happened the next year? They did make the playoffs, and they lost to an up-and-coming Denver team in 7 games in the first round. Then what happened last year? They missed the playoffs. Okay? It's because you're just sort of left low and dry. And what's about to happen in Houston? Well, now the reports are Oladipo doesn't really want to be in Houston or stay in Houston.
Right.
So did they just rent him for this part of the year?
Well, Skip, he has an expiring contract, so that makes him very appealing to move him again.
Okay, but my point is, where does it leave Houston? Can you replace James Harden? You just can't. They're left for quote-unquote dead.
At least, Skip, when the Pelicans lost AD, they got Brandon Ingram, who turned into an all-star.
Okay.
They got the first pick in the draft in Zion.
Okay, but did they make the playoffs last year? They did not.
But you see, they have some nice building pieces. So the question is, can John Wall, Christian Wood, some of these, we got to see who they draft, Skip, with those picks.
Cousins,
Boogie. Yeah. Can they make, but the best thing about it, Skip, I think they had to say, after what Boogie said, I don't think it would have been the best interest that James Harden show up to practice, because after he did what he did, I'm not sure that Boogie was the only player that felt like he had quit on his team, and it would be best that he not be around.
Okay. So ultimately, I'm very happy the players have this power.
Right.
I'm not always happy with the way they utilize it, and I believe our commissioner of this league, Commissioner Silver, is not happy with this look because I think it will alienate some fans. Obviously, those in Houston are not going to be real happy with this now.
But Skip, I mean, David Stern, he vetoed, I mean, think about it. He allowed super teams to happen, but he vetoed Chris Paul going to join the Lakers.
Yeah.
So, and then vetoing.
They were running that team at that point.
And he didn't want, he thought, well, because the Lakers would have probably won about 3 or 4 more championships. But he didn't, but in the process of eliminating what he thought would be a super team, he created others. Yep. Because then you had LeBron, and then you had KD, and now you got this situation.
Yep.
And now you got another situation with LeBron and AD, and Kawhi and Paul George. So where you suppressed one, you gave the uprising to others.
Yep. So right there in Houston, you have a Deshaun Watson playing in the National Football League who's in the same virtual situation where he's saying, I just don't like the way, the direction. I need out of here. Well, is he going to force his way out? Probably not.
He probably can't. But the difference is, Skip, is that James Harden, all those years, Daryl Morey ran the decisions that he was going to make by him.
He did.
This guy didn't run the decisions by James Harden. They told Deshaun that they were, we were, and they didn't do it. Right. Now they want to backtrack and go interview Eric Bieniemy. But when he was on the bye week, Skip, that's the time you interview the guy.
No.
But now, Deshaun, you upset about that? Okay, we'll go interview him. Deshaun said, no, I'm on vacation. I see you when I see you.
No mercy.
Well, James Harden got his wish and is being traded to the Nets in a 4-team deal involving the Pacers and Cavs. Several players and many first-round picks were dealt in order to get Harden matched up with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn. Now, I've got to bring in New York Knicks superfan and all-time great comedian Michael Rapaport. Oh, my goodness. Michael, how are you doing? I got to ask, what was your reaction when you first heard about Harden going to the Nets?
Well, good to be here. Thanks for having me, you guys. I hope everybody is good. My reaction was relief. I think things were getting ugly in Houston. I felt like the fans, the team, and the NBA, just community at large deserves better. I am a big James Harden fan on the court. Sometimes I feel like, he could disappear. He could get bigger. He's the only guy who I think could disappear and also get bigger as he did at the beginning of this season. It used to be Fear the Beard. He came into this season Fear the Burger. But I was relieved. I'm excited for Brooklyn. I'm excited for Brooklyn basketball. I'm excited for New York City. My reaction, I'm not surprised that the New York Knicks are never in the discussion for free agents or big trades. They're not a good team. They don't have a guy. None of their draft picks are guys. If you look at every team that's substantial, every team that's relevant in the league, they either have 1, 2, or sometimes 3 guys, whether it's the Lakers or Milwaukee or Philadelphia, Boston, the Clippers, even Denver. Every team has a guy, Donovan Mitchell. Every team has a guy. The Knicks, on their best day, we have maybe a 3rd guy or a 4th guy. The fact that Julius Randle, who I like, who should not be wearing number 30 in Madison Square Garden because that's Bernard King's number, is our best player, is disappointing. I do not think the Knicks are going to be relevant or in the discussion for trades until they create a lifestyle where you can really be a New Yorker. Right now, those guys live in the suburbs up there with the soccer moms in Ryan, New York. No disrespect to the soccer moms or the suburbs, but if you're a young athlete in your 20s, you want to come to New York and have the New York lifestyle, you get that in Brooklyn. And that is very important. And I think that's why Brooklyn has become way more sexy and way more alluring, aside from the fact that the team and the culture and Steve Nash and, of course, Kevin Durant and another person who could disappear, Kyrie Irving, are there. So right now, this is a team with super duper firepower in Brooklyn. Brooklyn basketball is where no blood, no foul was created. This is not a no blood, no foul. This is 150 points in 7 seconds or less. Nash, Dan Antonio, Stoudemire. It's a supersonic offensive team. How ironic. The shot, to the Seattle Supersonics where KD was drafted. It's the 3 mustached Musketeers. And, I think they're going to be a little bit better defensively and eventually. But I will say this, as far as winning the title, we need to see if these 3 guys are going to play together, because right now, Kyrie Irving, we don't know what he's going to do. We don't know when he's going to do what he does. But we do know that Kevin Durant is healthy, knock on wood. We do know that he loves playing basketball. We do know that he looks like Kevin Durant. And I don't think James Harden, will be as hefty. He needs to stay away from all the Jamaican food on Flatbush Avenue. And even if it's James Harden and Kevin Durant, let's say Kyrie Irving doesn't come back, and he is going to come back. But even if it's James Harden and Kevin Durant, with all the guys they have, they are going to be a super duper major issue in the East. And if the 3 of them come together, they're going to be a problem. I don't know who the leader of the team is. I think by default, Kevin Durant is the leader of the team. I think no other player in the NBA is happier about the fact that you don't have microphones in your face after the game. He does not have a great personality. He is thin-skinned, and he's very thin, but he's just a gorgeous basketball player. I mean, he's ridiculous, and I'm so glad he's healthy. So it's exciting for Brooklyn. It's exciting for Brooklyn basketball. And Brooklyn is only 15 minutes away, 10 minutes away, train ride from Manhattan. So people that aren't New Yorkers, it's collective. And me personally, as much as I am disappointed with the Knicks, I'm happy for the city of New York and for basketball fans on the East Coast.
I just got one question. I'm going to turn it over to Skip.
What's your question, sir?
Would you want James Harden or Kyrie on the Knicks? And would you trust either one of those guys if they were on the Knicks?
By themselves?
Yes.
No. I mean, I would trust James Harden if he was on the Knicks by himself. But you know what, Shannon? Well, you know, like that's like asking me would I like to take a trip to Mars? It's theoretical. He ain't coming to the Knicks. He signed with Brooklyn. I don't know why you're bringing that up. I told you. Listen, I'm a Knicks fan. My heart pumps blue and orange, and it always will. But I've never been one of these church and state guys. I'm a New York Giants fan. Shout out to Doug Peterson, by the way. But I've never wanted to see the Jets not do well. I'm a Yankee fan. I never want to see the Mets not do well. I love the New Jersey Nets. When it was Kenny Anderson, I loved it when it was Kenyon Martin, all the way back to the great Dr. J in Long Island. I'm excited for Brooklyn. I'm excited for Brooklyn basketball and New York City. The question is, let's assume that there's no fans the rest of this season. That's the way it's looking. Will it last long enough for when the fans come back, hopefully this year in the beginning of the next season? Will the fans get to see all three of these players packed in Barclays Arena again? Because with Kyrie Irving, anything could happen. We know James Harden loves to play ball. We know Kevin Durant loves to play ball. Kyrie Irving, I don't know what he's into.
So, Michael, the reports were that Kevin Durant wanted to sign with your Knicks, and yet he let Kyrie talk him out of that and go to Brooklyn with Kyrie. But I thought it was just a done deal. It was an obvious move for the two of them to try to put your team, the Knicks, back on the national map in what is still called the Mecca of basketball, Madison Square Garden. It seemed made to order for those two, and yet they went to Brooklyn. How do you explain that?
You know what, Skip? The meme was also Zion Williamson. Remember that meme that was going around? The three of them: Kevin, Kyrie, Zion.
Yep.
I don't blame. I was mad. I came on this show. I insulted Kevin Durant because he said New York isn't cool. And then I apologized. I'm man enough to apologize. I apologized to Kristaps Porzingis for leaving New York. Now they started again with the new regime and Thibodeau and the front office people. But I am telling you, and I am telling New York, and I am telling the Knicks, you need to let these people, these young players, live in New York City. That is going to be a factor. It sounds like it has nothing to do with basketball. I am telling you, no one wants to live in the suburbs and have to travel an hour and 40 minutes to and from the game. Obviously, traffic is different now, but I am telling you, that is a big factor, along with the fact that, like Kevin Durant said, and I chastised him on this show, the New York Knicks are not sexy. None of these 20-something-year-old guys grew up with Knicks being sexy. So as much as it hurts me, as much as and you said it's still the Mecca of basketball, it is the Mecca of basketball. The Garden will always be the Mecca of basketball. It's the only arena with all its history intact.
Right.
I understand why these players are going to Brooklyn. It's a funner place to live. It's a funner lifestyle to live. And now, as far as basketball, you got three of the greatest basketball players in the game right now playing on the court. And it's a great lifestyle. And you got Steve Nash, and you got Dan Antonio, you got Stoudemire, and you got 7 seconds or less. So I understand why these guys are not playing in Manhattan, and they choose to go to the Brooklyn Nets. You could ride your bicycle. You could walk to the games. That's dope. That's fun. That's ideal. No one wants to get in a car for an hour and a half after a game or before a game to get to the world's most famous arena.
Mike, you said something very interesting. You said the Knicks aren't sexy. Because when the Knicks were really good, that wasn't a pretty style of basketball that they were watching. The Lakers Showtime kept getting up and down the court, fast break basketball, layup, dunk, Magic Johnson with a no-look. You know, playing football, winning a ball game 65-62 was not sexy. And as you mentioned, when you look at the Knicks, it's going to take somebody's going to have to, like some superstar is going to say, I'm going to be the man that's going to change the culture. Because right now, and as you said, that's the only arena that has not changed. The old Boston Garden is not the Boston Garden. The Lakers don't play in the Fabulous Forum anymore. The Chicago, the stadium, so everything, only Madison Square Garden is the Madison Square Garden as it used to be. It's kind of like old Boston, the Red Sox, where they play, Fenway Park. It's still historic because it's been there. The Yankees have moved. Most everybody has got these up-to-date stadiums.
Wrigley Field.
Wrigley Field. Yeah. But you're right, Mike. The Boston Garden. The Madison Square Garden is the Mecca. But you're going to have to get one superstar, one guy's going to say, you know what, I'm going to break the tradition. And a lot of people thought it was going to be KD, but when KD shun you, it's going to be a while before someone else. Giannis has re-upped for another 5+ years. AD re-upped. LeBron is re-upped. I don't know who's coming. Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, Brandon, all these young guys. So I don't know who you could possibly get unless you hit on somebody in the draft.
And I don't know if these draft picks don't exist. These one-and-done guys, these transcendent players, the LeBron James, the Kevin Durant, these ridiculous players, they don't, like you said, I heard you guys, they don't grow on trees, and you can't manufacture them.
No.
So, Michael, real quick, last quick question. Just give us a quick answer to this one. What do you think is going on in Kyrie's head right now?
I think Kyrie Irving, I don't buy this capital attack. You know, maybe I understood that one day. Nancy Pelosi's 80. She went back to work the same day. A lot of these people in Congress are 70 plus. They went back to work the same day and have gone to work. They work till 4 a.m. So that one, I don't know what's going on with him. But I don't like it. I think it's disrespectful to his teammates. It's disrespectful to Steve Nash. It's disrespectful to the borough of Brooklyn. And, you know, if they're supposed to be best friends, who does that to your friend in the beginning of the season? So I don't buy it. And then when he comes back and you guys start hitting him with the hard questions, he's going to get all sensitive. He says, I just like to show up and do his job. Well, you guys should have a feeding frenzy on him and do your job. Because where you been? What are you doing? Why are you playing basketball? Why did you have your quote-unquote best friend come to a team and then you're disappearing? It's not dope. It's not cool. It's so not New York, and it's certainly not Brooklynish to do that to a friend. It's whack to me.
Michael, it's great to have you. I love your energy. I love your willingness to come on and talk
Laker
about
Nation,
this.
baby.
We appreciate your time. Stay healthy and well. We'll check in with you very soon.
No mercy.
James Harden is on his way to join forces with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in Brooklyn to form the latest NBA super team. Social media exploded after the news broke, including reactions ranging from shock to anger, as well as people questioning how this team of superstars could actually work together. So, Shannon, will these Nets be the biggest villains in NBA history?
Nothing will ever come close to what LeBron and the Big Three faced in Miami. Although none of those guys forced their way out, Skip, everybody played hard to the very end of their contracts. Nobody. Because I think it was a lot of it had to do with the decision. A lot of it didn't like once they got there, the theatrics, the not 1, not 2, not 3. So there are a lot of things that played a role in the, Skip. But it is my belief that no team will be a bigger villain than what we saw with the Big Three Heat. These guys, yeah, I'm sure there'll be some, but not like what the Big Three Heat faced.
Shannon, this team is about to eclipse that team.
No.
Villainy.
No way.
Hey, Kevin Durant is at war with the media. Kyrie called the media, dismissed them as pawns.
Yeah, I'm not talking about the media. We're talking about the fans. Kevin Durant, Kyrie, and James Harden on their best day. No, let me take that back. On their worst day, on their most vilified day, can't touch GOAT James and the vitriol that he faced.
Okay, but James Harden just forced and ate his way out of Houston, forced his way into Brooklyn.
Yes.
To join forces with a guy, Kevin Durant, who is the thinnest skinned superstar we've ever seen in this sport.
Yes.
He has burner accounts.
Yes.
He once told the media, you guys don't know bleep about basketball, after those same guys had just voted him the MVP.
Skip, but that's the media. I'm talking about the fans, the vitriol.
Kyrie turned on LeBron, despised LeBron, and forced his way out of Cleveland to Boston, where he quickly threw the whole team under the bus, went to Brooklyn and threw that team under the bus.
In the process of LeBron and Kyrie forcing his way out there, you blame LeBron James because you said it was his behavior. It was him.
I kept telling you what Kyrie thought. He thought LeBron was more concerned with stats than with winning games.
Skip, there's no way. Now, when they show the fans and they burning down James Harden stuff, then we can talk. But what
I would think they wanted to last night.
Yeah.
You don't think so?
Maybe they wanted to, Skip, but I don't believe that we'll ever see. It's kind of like we're never going to see the celebrity like what we saw with the Dream Team, Skip, or what we see with Michael Jordan in that last couple of years. The fanfare and how it was like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones. It was like a rock concert wherever they showed up. We're never going to see that again. We're never going to see the vitriol.
How quickly did the fans get over that vitriol aimed at LeBron because he paired up with Dwayne Wade, who was beloved by everyone?
Skip, that first year, do you remember what it was like?
Yeah.
It was epic. Skip, LeBron James still, he's the most beloved and he's still the most hated.
The most hated?
He's the most hated.
He is by far the most beloved star in the history of the sport.
And still one of the most hated.
Huh. Well, that would be Michael Jeffrey Jordan in Chicago.
Jordan, stop it. You ought to stop now. You know good and well everybody loves Jordan. They found no fault. Huh? Jordan scored 6 points. Man, that was because you know what happened? The ball was cold. They were playing with a bowling ball. You could have scored nobody.
What about those 7 billion blind witnesses out there who hate Jordan because they love LeBron to a fault?
They don't hate. The two things can be true, Skip. We can appreciate greatness while disagreeing that the other guy's not as great. That's not hate. That's facts.
No mercy. Well, LeBron has been working on his shooting range, and it's beginning to show. Frank Vogel said that LeBron always has a green light to shoot because he is, quote, probably the best shooter on the team. Shannon, do you agree?
What?
What? Man, that's my nephew. That's my nephew. But no.
Who's your nephew?
LeBron.
Oh.
LeBron, my nephew. But
I thought you meant Vogel is your nephew.
No. Frankie V.
Even you are saying no to this?
No.
Wow.
I believe the best shooter on the team, I would probably say KCP first, probably AD second.
Really?
Yeah.
Wes Matthews has the best three-point career shooter.
Right.
He's at 38%.
Right.
Now, if LeBron is your best shooter, you're in trouble because he's a career 34% three-point shooter. I know he's been on a hot streak.
Ain't no hot streak. We gonna keep it going.
He's all the way up to 39%. Want to bet about 5 cases on that?
We might finish the season at 40.
Really? Will you bet me, 75% free throws, and he's just hovering right at 70 right now?
We gonna go on the hot streak. We gonna make about 15 in a row, be right back to 75 and hold it there.
Well, he's ranked 39. He's 39% right now. That ranks 87th in the NBA. You love that?
Yeah, but Skip, I mean, there are some guys that you know that are shooting the ball. They're like mid-50s, maybe even 60% from the three-point line. Do you believe they're gonna shoot 60% for the season? Okay,
it's early. Is LeBron gonna hold up at 39? He is not.
That's more likely he hold up at 39 than they hold up at 58,
really?
60.
Do you want to bet just a single case on 39%?
Give me 38.
38?
Give me 38%. LeBron shoot 38% from the three.
Okay, I'm going to give you a case here. I'm just going to give you a case. I'll give you 38 because he won't make it.
He got it. Yeah.
Career 34.
That's okay. But I saw him shoot 40 one time in
by the
Miami.
Way, he's taking more and more threes because he's chasing Kareem.
We ain't chasing no Kareem.
Harden tried to steal the show today, but we ended with LeBron. Only feels appropriate. Great stuff, guys. We're back same time tomorrow. Have a good day.